To run rain simulation, first we create a city with Dribble, then we add Tyflow, then we go to Modify List and open Editor, add Birth, then we need to add position icon after birth and create a new one. We disable events to relocate and rescale our icon, so it will cover the area that we want to run the simulation. We enable it, and we need to add speed right after position icon. The direction should be along icon arrow, so we have to relocate our icon and move it toward up. Then we need to assign it and pick it as our icon to represent sky, or where the particles start to simulate. Now we can go back to birth and change the number of the particles. So for example, for now we have 60 per frame. Then we have to add negative amount to our start, so it would be the continuous simulation without any pause at the first. Then we have to add gravity or force after speed. The amount of gravity should be negative. Also, we can use real world value strength, which is also a negative value. Then if we want to make it more realistic, we have to add shape, because currently the shape that we see is small dots. So we can add any shape that we want to. In here, we can create cone. Then we have to remove any shape that we have in our shape list. And instead, we select and assign the new shape that we just created. Then we go back to display and change the type to geometry. Then we assign the new shape, and we can always rescale or reduce or increase the size of it. So with this new shape, it seems the particles are too much for this area. We can always go back to our birth section and reduce the number of particles. Now in real life, when we have rain, actually the drops meet ground and they actually bounce and they break into small pieces. So we have to add collusion, and then we have to pick our plane as a ground. So the rain will stop at plane. Now, because as I said before, the rain, they will when they meet ground, actually they break and they change their shape. So we have to add spawn as our second event. We can change our display to small dots or large dots, and then we can change the color. So now for this one also, we need to add force and collusion as well. So we can add force from the library, or we can shift and drag the force that we already have in our first event. If we shift and drag, we see that the strength and the parameter would be exactly the same. So we do the same thing for collusion as well, because it would be bounce as well. But we need to change the parameter. For example, for spawn, we have to increase the offspring, because they actually break and split into small pieces. Also for collusion, we have to change the percentage of bounce. So we increase variation by 50%. can change the display of the second event to bigger dots. So as we can see, we see that they are bouncing, but this is too much for rain, so we can reduce the bounce of our first event and then increase the variation of bounce for our second collusion in the second event. Now we have rain simulation. We can always go back and change the number of the particles, the shape of our drop, or change the spawn. We can change it to circles to have snow as well. Thank you for watching.